Menopause can be such a challenging time for women in the workplace, so we were delighted to chat with Amanda Smidt from the Career Development Company about how women can manage some of their symptoms, have those difficult conversations, find allies and support. And she also covered some great advice for employers about how they can make their workplaces more supportive and inclusive for their female employees. We're sure you will enjoy this amazing chat with Amanda. Kia ora, Amanda.
Kia ora, Jo.
It's so great to have you with us for Uniting Canterbury Women's 20 Questions. It's actually a very special 20 questions this time because we're focusing on menopause in the workplace, which is a really, really important topic. Brain fog, loss of concentration and motivation, stress, lots of physical symptoms, are just some of the common menopause symptoms that women will face and, that can really impact on their ability to do their work. So what are some of the unique challenges that women face in this space?
Yeah, and I hear that. I hear the stress and brain fog and even forgetfulness. Sometimes you can get a little bit titchy, hey? So, and if this is not your natural personality, you're wondering what is actually going on. And in the workplace, as women, we might be in the prime of our lives. And this is around the age of 40 to about 55 to 60. This is when things are happening. You've got your experience, you've got some really good roles, and you're doing some amazing things in the workplace. And then all of a sudden there's this shift where you're not feeling as confident as you were before, where you're feeling the sense of, I cannot do this. People are going to find me out. And you're just wondering what that's about. And we all know this whole imposter syndrome happens in around that stage. And if you're a woman that has been really working hard, that's doing really well in their career, and this starts happening and you start doubting yourself, it really can be quite hard, hey?
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And almost 80% of New Zealand women aged 45 to 60 are in the workforce. So this is the age when these symptoms are popping up.
Absolutely. And it's not the first symptoms that are happening. We start work around 17, 18 or, go and study. So we've got, the puberty issues to have conversations around periods in the workplace. And what's exciting for me now is that those conversations are happening in the workplace. So there are policies around periods. And what happens around that for women. There are policies around family violence and how the conversations we can have in the workplace around that. So menopause should really be part of the conversation.
Oh, it absolutely should. And because recent research shows that 75% of women experience symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, which impacts on their work, and yet only 11% talk to their managers about it. So, why is it difficult to have these conversations?
Only 11%, and I think, we need to hear that. So there's this whole group of women that are high flyers usually in their roles, or not. And they cannot have a conversation about something that happens to every woman, is a worry for me. However, there are some businesses where this actually happens well, and it is about the culture of the business. If there's a culture of open communication, that it is just part of the well-being conversations in the workplace, then it's not going to be too difficult to have those conversations. So it really is about workplaces looking at this and having the space for women to be able to feel free to say, hey, not feeling so good today. And what happens then?
Absolutely. So, how are New Zealand businesses doing overall when it comes to menopause? There's obviously still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah. And as I said, it depends on the business. It depends on the policies around well-being. And I mention well-being because I really think that this conversation should be sitting in the well-being policies. So you'll find most organizations in their health, safety and environment have health, safety, environment and well-being now. So menopause is definitely part of that well-being conversation. So businesses more and more put policies around this, but it's not just about the policy. It's about how we actually follow through with that policy, with practical steps to help women in the workplace as they are going through this change in their lives.
So if a woman is experiencing some of these symptoms and she's really struggling, what should she do?
Wow. And that also depends on where they are, but
Yeah.
I think having that conversation, if you're not going to share or speak to whoever it is in the workplace that you need to speak to about your situation, they're not going to know. So I think talking about it is really important, but that's not always as easy as we think.
No.
And it depends on your background. I mean, menopause is a stigma. It's a taboo conversation in a lot of families. So when you're in the workplace, even more so. So I think it really still sits with the culture of the business. How okay is it to have a conversation with your manager or with your CE or with your HR manager about where you are at? And I think since COVID, I think things have changed. There has been a shift around understanding different ways of working. So having that conversation about, I'm not feeling so good today. I'm really tired, have not been sleeping. I've got a big project coming up in about a week's time. Could I work from home and just work in my own time? Because that's the whole thing. Hey, we've got to go to work from 9 to 5 and absolutely be on the ball during those times. But when you're working from home, in a flexible way, you're able to actually decide when you are feeling okay and have a nana nap in the middle of the day if you want to.
Absolutely.
And then continue, you know what I mean?
Yes, no, definitely. That hybrid working really does help hugely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it can be hard enough for women, for some of us, to have these kinds of conversations with our family members and friends. So it's quite a leap to sort of admit, isn't it, that we're having struggles in the workplace. It can be quite challenging.
So it's really about finding your friendlies in the workplace. Who is there to support you? Who do you feel comfortable speaking to? And you might find that the people that you're comfortable speaking to are going through the same things as you are. It might be, they might not be wanting to have a conversation about it. So just finding a way to have that communication or to share with others exactly how you're feeling and what you're going through is a really important thing, because you feel like, wow, I've got my tribe of people that are going through menopause, and that's a good thing in the workplace as well.
Absolutely, because the recent report said that 1 in 5 male managers didn't feel that they felt knowledgeable about menopause. So I guess that's quite an impact. That has an impact on female employees as well, doesn't it? So what role can male colleagues and supervisors play in creating a supportive and inclusive work environment for women who are going through menopause?
And often if you do have a male manager, you're not always going to be talking to them about things that are really private and private to you. So I think from a male perspective, the first thing I'd say is just educate yourselves on what menopause is about, and the symptoms and what women actually go through at that stage, and how difficult it is to navigate the workplace when this change happens to them. And where you have noticed a woman or your female colleague or your or another manager going through changes, and you're not understanding why. A few weeks ago they were perfectly fine and they were on the ball and doing some high-powered, high-pressured role, and now all of a sudden they wanted to run out of a meeting because they are just too hot, or and you don't understand what's going on. I think if you had understood exactly what all women in your workplace are going through at different stages of their lives, you'd understand what was going on. But also allowing that space for communication. A clear understanding of that whole well-being conversation I was talking about earlier, just knowing that. And one thing I do want to say is, and I think there is a shift in the workplace now, that whole thing where you'd go into a workplace and they'd have certain calendars on the wall with women, that has shifted. That's shifted quite a bit. We don't often see that these days. And that whole comment of, oh, she's on her period, that's why she's so angry, she's menopause angry, or she's just got a hot flush, we'll just leave her, let her be. Those sort of hush-hush sort of derogatory comments are not helpful.
No, absolutely not.
And often as a way to help us through that as women, we might just laugh it off or something. But I don't think we should laugh things off like that.
I mean, do women really juggle a lot of balls, don't they?
Don't they just? And I think with this whole conversation about menopause and all those symptoms we have, we just carry on. So we don't stop. So we'll go to the workplace, we'll work all day. And sometimes we actually work harder because we actually realize that, I'm a bit brain fogged, I'm not remembering things much. And so we work extra hard to try and overcome that. And then by the time we get home, we are just so tired.
Yeah.
Hey, so we want to flop and just relax, but we can't because we've got other roles that we are playing now. So we shift from the work role to the mother role or the partner role or the daughter role, whatever role we have when we get home. And we just don't stop. So not only are we now dealing with the menopause issues, we're also dealing with stress factors. And all of this impacts our well-being so much. And so my question is always about what then? Where are we going to after this? When do we actually realize that stopping and finding the right help for ourselves is really, really important, not only from a work point of view, but also your whole life point of view?
Amanda, as well as the potential for a hybrid work environment and obviously good communication, as we've talked about, what are some of the other things that employers can do to create a really supportive and more inclusive work environment for their female employees going through menopause?
Practical steps I think is really important, like simple things like having a really good air conditioning system in your workplace. Simple thing, but that is really important where you're spending your whole day, for some people in the office area, it's got to be comfortable for them, and then also thinking about what the open work environment looks like. Is that going to hinder or is it going to help our female employees? And then also just a small thing like, if you're having a meeting and someone stands up and walks out, just quietly walks out to have their own time, knowing that that's something they're going to do and they'll be back. And often we need to do that if we're going through a hot flush. In a very practical way, we need to go out and maybe remove the layer or something. Just a practical thing and not making a big comment or a big scene about this person getting up and going. So people need to leave a meeting, they do.
Absolutely, that's very wise. And it's really encouraging that you say workplaces are getting better and that things are starting to be written into policies, that there's wellbeing policies. It's really, really encouraging. So how might women find strength and empowerment through their shared experiences of menopause, and how can they support each other in the workspace?
I think that's just what it is, supporting each other in the workplace. I must say though, when I was younger, and in my early years of my career, and I did not understand menopause. It wasn't even part of my thought process. And I would notice older women in the workplace heading off or getting muddled about something or removing their clothes or really getting hot. I didn't actually know that was menopause. I really didn't. So I think women supporting each other is really important and talking to each other about it. It's so amazing if you can have a conversation about, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm going through menopause now, and bringing our young people along with us as well. So there's that shared understanding is really important.
It is, and it's really encouraging to see the younger generations of women having these conversations now in their 30s and 40s. Like you say, we're a similar age, and I had no idea either. Because things just weren't talked about, were they? So it's just great to see that these conversations are really starting to happen now. Yeah,
they are. And I think that's important. It's not just a workplace or in the homes that is talking. Nationally, we're hearing these conversations come up, and I think that's really encouraging.
It's great. I mean, there's a lot more podcasts. There's a lot more information out there now. A lot more workshops and things. So no, it's just great to hear.
And just having this conversation now.
Absolutely.
And it's a wider subscription. It's a wider group of women that will be listening to this and reading your wonderful newsletter. So it's great.
Thanks, Amanda. Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us on this very important subject. Really, really appreciate that. And you've just given women so much great advice and so many amazing things to think about. So thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much. I do want to say that are we ever an expert in this space? I think we're learning about it every day. So it's wonderful to have this conversation. Thank you.
That is so true. Thank you, Amanda. Kia ora.
Kia ora.